Hello, Huntington. Hey, welcome to my podcast. This is my inaugural version. My name is Kelly Mayer. I'm coming to you from a bunker deep below Proctorville, Ohio. This series, we're going to talk about all things political. We will discuss international, national, state, but for the most part, we're going to be talking about regional issues. The tri-state, the Huntington tri-state metro area. That's West Virginia, Kentucky, and Ohio. Today we're going to be talking about the state of education, K through 12, in West Virginia. Last week, the West Virginia Senate approved an omnibus spending and reform package that was not appreciated by any Democrats, and not a lot of Republicans liked it. Schools and school administrators and school unions hate it. It was modified in the House of Delegates. They took a number of provisions out, added things, and now the unions are on board. Just like most states, West Virginia has a sort of hybrid educational authority. Some federal government mandates, a lot of state, and a little bit of local control, which I will demonstrate is a formula for, at best, mediocrity. Let's quickly go through the provisions of the current legislation. Number one, academic promotion. Now, teachers' recommendation, quote, shall be primary consideration, unquote, on whether a student is promoted to the next grade. Seems logical. The state has mandated 5 unexcused absences. If a student has 5 unexcused absences, then the teachers and school administrators are required to call in the parents and have a meeting. This new legislation changes that. It makes it a 2-tier thing, where there's 3 unexcused absences and 5 unexcused absences. And what they do is you can now have more flexibility if you make a concerted effort to bring in the parents, or you can talk to them over the phone. Some of those things are acceptable now. Next item, new administrators, school administrators, will be at will. So I guess they can no longer be in collective bargaining or in the union. Charter schools. The Senate bill allowed for 5 charter schools in the state. The House bill that has been approved and has been sent back to the Senate now only allows for 2. One in Cabell County and one in Kanawha County. Class sizes can go up from 28 to 31 students. This is weird. Counselor time. They can now spend more than 25% of their time doing, quote, administrative activities, unquote. Differential pay. Quote, critically needed, unquote, subjects or geographic areas, those teachers can receive differential pay. Math teachers are automatically considered critically needed and will receive differential pay in the sum of a 3-year salary seniority. So basically, if they're a first-year teacher but they teach math, they will be considered either a third-year teacher or a 4-year teacher in their steps. In addition, there's potentially $2,000 that math teachers can receive annually if they complete some yet unspecified classes. Next item, with limits, school boards will be able to raise property taxes by a majority vote of the school board members. So no longer will it be necessary to send out a tax levy to be voted on by the property owners. School employees will now accrue sick days per month versus all of them at the first of the year. Teachers, they will get $1,000 for less than 5 sick days that occur through the year. So if a teacher only uses 4 sick days in a year, they're going to get a bonus of $1,000. Public school choice was in the Senate bill. This is vouchers, but I cannot find anywhere in the House bill where it's mentioned. So I don't know if it's still in there or if it's been struck, but I think it's still in there. But it doesn't make sense that the unions are for this bill if it's still in it, because that is definitely a poison pill, a non-starter for unions, but they're on board with it now. There is an extra $25 million from the state of West Virginia to the schools for new social workers and psychologists. In addition to that, there will be $40 million annually to boost police presence in schools. Also, something seems kind of minor, but it increases the limit on K through 5 grade split grade classes. So I guess if you have a rural school and you don't have enough students for, say, 4th grade, you can combine some 3rd graders and 5th graders, and it increases the limit on number of those split grade classes and students in those classes. Next item, teachers will get a $250 tax credit if they buy supplies or get training throughout the year. And the only other thing in it of consequence is the 5% pay raise that school teachers and school officials bargained for last year or went on strike for just less than a year ago. That's codified in this law. Now let's take a look at the numbers. My statistics for state rankings comes from U.S. News and World Report 2017's version. They put Massachusetts number 1, New Mexico number 50. West Virginia ranks 41 in quality of pre-K to 12. There are many factors involved, but this is the summary. All of the financial statements come from the NEA, the National Education Association. It's the largest United States teachers union. Now, I admit, teachers are not the only educators in a school. They're not the only important people involved in schools and educating our children. But they do make up the bulk of resource allocations, and they are the greatest number. So I have a lot of numbers to throw at you, so I'm only going to discuss teachers, salaries, expenditures, things like that. So in order, the highest rated schools are Massachusetts, second New Hampshire, New Jersey, Vermont. The worst rated schools, New Mexico, 50, Nevada, 49, Arizona next, and then Mississippi. The region around us, Pennsylvania ranks number 11th, Virginia 12, North Carolina 23, Kentucky 24, Ohio 36, breaks my heart, West Virginia 41, and South Carolina 43. Let's take a look at teacher salaries to school rank and see if we can find a correlation. The top 4 states, Massachusetts through Vermont, their salary ranks are in order 3. So Massachusetts, who has the best rated schools, have the 3rd highest paid teachers at $78,100 on average. So New Hampshire number 2, their salary rank is 17th. New Jersey number 3, 6. Vermont number 4, 19. So they are paying well above average, and they're getting the highest ratings. Now let's look at the bottom 4. The bottom is New Mexico, then Nevada, slightly better, Arizona, Mississippi. So New Mexico, they rank 47th in teacher salary. Nevada, 18th in teacher salary, and they produce 49th best results. Arizona, 44 and 48 respectively, and Mississippi, 51 and 47. Now, 51 means that D.C. is also counted as a state, but because they're in the middle, they don't show up very often. So, where does West Virginia fit? West Virginia's salary rank at $45,555 ranks 49th in the nation, yet they're producing the 41st ranked school system. So they're performing slightly ahead of their salary rank. The thing is, they're 49th in the country at $45,555. This was 2017. That is too low. Teacher salaries in West Virginia are too low, and I'm going to demonstrate that. Okay, now that we have an understanding of what teachers are paid and how they rank, and is there a correlation? Kind of. There kind of is. The best schools pay their teachers the best. The lowest performing schools pretty much pay their teachers the lowest, with the exception of Nevada. They are 18th on the list and produce results of 49th. Now, let's look at revenue per student for the state. So, make it simple. How much money is brought in for education divided by how many students there are? The United States average is $12,998 per student. That's what's brought in, not necessarily what's spent. But so it's $2 less than $13,000. So we're going to use $13,000. The average teacher salary in 2017 across the nation was $59,660, which is right at $15,000 more than West Virginia teachers make. So let's look at Massachusetts. They have a revenue of $18,900. So about $6,000 above the national average, and that produces the number one ranked school. Next on the list, New Hampshire, just under $17,000. Then New Jersey, $21,200. Vermont, $22,371. Then you get down, let's look at the bottom. New Mexico, $11,800. That's pretty close. It's about $1,000 less than national average. Just above them, Nevada, ranked 49th, $9,056. Just above them, Arizona, $8,080. They're the lowest. Just above them, Mississippi, $9,233. Where does West Virginia stand? $15,614. So to get the 41st ranked school outcomes, they take in the 14th highest amount of revenue per student per year. So the question begs to ask, there is a relationship amongst the highest and lowest achieving school systems in the country. There's a relationship between their rank and their teacher salaries. In the middle, it's pretty much in the middle. So why is the 41st ranked school system, West Virginia, paying their teachers only 3 notches above the worst in the country, but yet they take in the 14th most in the country? Where is this money going? It's clearly not going to the frontline educators. Let me explain a military principle called tip of the spear. The tip of the spear is the part of the spear that actually does the work. It's the part that cuts the flesh and kills the beast. Now, it has a shaft, it has a person throwing it, that's all support. The principal, administration, the Department of Education, those all support the tip of the spear. If the tip of the spear is dull, it will not cut. It will not kill. People will starve. Teachers are the tip of the spear. Okay, to evaluate the effectiveness of a school and its resources, I've written a formula. It takes the school's ranking and divides it by its revenue ranking. So, for example, Massachusetts has the best performing schools, number 1. Yet their revenue rank is only 8th in the nation. They take in the 8th most in the nation. So you take 1 divided by 8, and that gets you 0.125. This can be read like standard deviation. So Pennsylvania ranks 11th in the nation, and they also take in the 11th most revenue. So their effectiveness rating is 1. Any number below 1 is above average. Any number above 1 is a poor efficiency rating. So let's look at the rankings now. Massachusetts, number 1, of course, and it has a efficiency rating of 0.125. New Hampshire, number 2, 0.222. New Jersey, 0.5. Vermont, above. So they're taking in a lot. They're 3rd in the nation in revenue, and they finish 4th in results. 1.33. Like I said, Pennsylvania's next at 1. Now look at the bottom. New Mexico, 1.6. Nevada, just over 1. Arizona, slightly ahead, 0.96. Mississippi, just over 1. Now let's look in the middle. Pennsylvania, like I said, is 11 and 11, so it's 1. Virginia, 0.41. North Carolina, 0.56. Kentucky, 0.7. Ohio, 1.6. They are 22 in the nation in revenue, 36th in results. South Carolina, 1.5. So Ohio, South Carolina are similar. West Virginia, they are ranked 41 in the nation, and they take in the 14th most revenue. Their efficiency rating is 2.93. That puts West Virginia's efficiency at half of what New Mexico's is, which is the worst in the country, the worst performing. It's 1/3 as good as Nevada, which ranks 49th in the nation. West Virginia residents, you have to ask your state, where is this money going? So the question begs, why is West Virginia so inefficient? And if you're going to argue that it's because West Virginia is a rural state, I'll give you that. There's some numbers there. Do you really believe it's that much more rural than North Carolina? And what about all the large western states, Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota? You really think that West Virginia is more rural than those states? I firmly believe that the problem with the inefficiency in West Virginia is a microcosm of big government. West Virginia government isn't giant, but in the scheme of things, it is. The national average for funding of school districts, 46.1% of local school districts receive their funding from local property taxes. Local taxation affords local control by people at the tip of the spear versus people standing on the ground, their feet, their legs, the body of the thrower, maybe the hand, maybe the shaft, but it's not the tip of the spear. The local community is the tip of the spear when it comes to funding. In order from lowest to highest, the following states have the lowest local funding mechanism for their local school districts. Hawaii, 1.9%. So the rest, 98.1% of their income, their revenue, is given to them by the state and federal government. Vermont, 4.7% local tax. New Mexico, 17.7%. Idaho, 21.5%. West Virginia, 5th lowest on the list, 25%. So when you give up local taxation for a local issue, what's happening is the money is taken from other parts of the state. Maybe your property taxes, but it's sent to the state, filtered through whatever filters they have, skimmed off, put elsewhere, sent back to you, less than you sent up. West Virginia, I implore you, for your children, you must take local control back from your state. Schools have got to be funded and managed and run locally. Okay, now that we've solved the funding question, let's talk about the politics of education in West Virginia. One item at a time. Charter schools. If you don't know, charter schools are private schools that don't charge tuition and they're open to all students. At least 11 states offer them, and 11 different versions of it on there. Let's see what Delegate Joe Canistero, Democrat from Marshall, West Virginia, says. He says he doesn't like the bill's allowance for 2 charter schools. Quote, I know of no one who would take 2 cockroaches home with them and not think that they're going to breed, unquote. So what you're saying is high levels of education for these students are cockroaches. What you're saying is you want no competition for public schools. You want the children to be forced to go to whatever school district that they live in, regardless of how poorly it performs. On the same vein, public school choice. So could you take your child from Cabell County schools, go to Putnam County schools, if you thought that Putnam was a better fit for your child? The West Virginia Gazette-Mail says, quote, students would be able to attend public schools in counties they don't live in if the receiving county's school board approves, regardless of how the school board of the county losing the student feels. Oh my goodness. If Cabell County is not teaching my child up to the standards that I would expect, and Putnam says, yeah, I'll take them, and we'll take the state money also that comes with them. Cabell loses that amount. How is that a bad thing? I've already stated emphatically the school teachers are underpaid. So you can't argue that I'm anti-teacher. The problem is liberals have a myopic vision of education. What they're doing is trading their job security for the outcomes of the children. There are competing interests, apparently, and they don't have to be. Outcomes versus job security. Charter schools, voucher programs have shown to increase attendees' performance. What's the counter argument? The liberal argument? Well, it causes poor performing schools to perform worse because the motivated or privileged children will leave. It's simple. It is not the responsibility, and at the expense of their education, of a motivated or privileged student to help teach the less motivated or privileged students. Nor should they be forced to go to a school that will not prepare them for adulthood as well, simply to even out a school's overall grade. If it so happens that a school has a high population of unmotivated or underprivileged students, it's the employees, the teachers, the administrators' responsibility to develop a curriculum to address the underperformance, not the high-achieving students. It's what these teachers and administrators are paid for and trained for. It is analogous to my profession. I'm a retired firefighter. We did not develop fire prevention programs at the state and force all communities to follow this program. The local communities know the firefighters are educated in fire prevention, fire suppression. They know best what their community needs. I am not going to go to a suburban, wealthy district and start handing out smoke detectors. They can pay for their own. They know the importance of them. We may put a commercial on, may put up some billboards about them, but instead, we're going to go to their community organizations and we're going to talk about maybe higher levels of fire prevention. Where in the inner city, you're going to need free smoke detectors. That's what saves lives. One size does not fit all. And the local districts are the best tip of the spear, the best determinators of what that local community needs. It is my responsibility as a trained and compensated firefighter to figure out what my community needs and develop a fire prevention plan relative to their needs. And I want to be judged. It's my job to be judged on how efficient and how well I do. And the way you judge it is how few fires occurred this year versus last year that were preventable. It's not my place to cry and complain that my residents are poor. They can't afford smoke detectors. It's my job to come up with a way to get a smoke detector in every residence, outside of every bedroom. So to sum up, simple. West Virginia teachers and support staff need to be paid more. How do you do it? You wrest local control from the state. You start paying more in local property taxes, less in state taxes. What's the smart way to function? Should the states have any role in local education? Absolutely. States should set minimum standards and upper limits of control. For example, they need to make laws that limit funding property tax or potentially some form of income tax or some form of sales tax, but there need to be top upper limits so that a local school board doesn't just set an income tax of 80% because they need it. And they're going to force it on every resident because some special interest has sold them on the idea. With local control comes local contracts. Teachers should not be contracted with the state of West Virginia and paid by their local school districts. That makes no sense. Each school district should bargain with their unions for wages and benefits. It is that simple. People of West Virginia, that's how you take your schools from 47th in the nation to something that'll prepare your children for college or for work life in the future. Thank you for listening. I hope you tune in again. Our next broadcast is going to talk about unions, contracts, and we're going to have fun. Thank you. Peace.